This is actually a great question. With regard to previous failures, I believe that even failures offer an opportunity to learn and to really get through a bunch of stuff. So, in other words, failure, by its very definition, for a lot of people, is a defeat of sorts. That's what we were taught when we were younger. Try not to fail in school, try not to fail in life, try not to, go to college so that you don't fail in life and have to, take a menial job in order to be considered, a sort of active member of society or contributing member of society. And I think luckily that's changed over time with regard to internet-driven businesses, .com 1.0. There was a bunch of failure that happened during .com 1.0, but it also, in a weird way, normalized failure. And I don't mean that in sort of as a rationalization. I think failure, again, is an opportunity to learn. And I think people are finally treating it that way, as opposed to like a death sentence or in any way sort of you know, a negative endorsement of themselves or their abilities. And I think, if you want my opinion, I'm a big fan of failing forward, meaning taking that failure, learning the lessons that it provides, and then really, really crafting your next venture with that in mind and with that committed to memory so that you don't make the same mistakes that you made that created the failure in the first place. So yes, I've made some, pretty poor decisions, especially of late, which is something I've been beating myself up over a lot. More financial decisions that I felt I'd researched, but it didn't, I guess, when you're introducing other energy and other quote unquote gurus and all this other stuff, which for me is just an endorsement of the fact that I lost a lot of confidence in my own voice and in my own abilities to an extent that I had to spend thousands of dollars on someone that didn't know me from Adam, clearly was reading, off of a blueprint of sorts that they could replicate over and over and over and create their own success from that. That's really for me where the failure came from. The failure of not really listening to my own voice, not really, relying on the fact that I've done this for many, many years. Maybe not this exact thing, but I've done or been in business for many, many years, quite successfully a number of times, not so successfully a number of times, but each iteration of whatever business that I started ended up being, a little bit more successful than the previous. So, I'd say, to the question, how it shapes my approach to entrepreneurship, again, I've committed that pain and that just angst and all of the stuff that quote unquote failure created, committed that to memory so that, again, anytime I move forward with another venture, I know what that pain feels like. And it's something I want to avoid like the plague, essentially. But I also am smart enough to know, okay, this didn't quite work in this particular realm last time. Your approach was off hardcore the last time when it didn't work so well. So why don't we switch this up? Let's research a little bit harder. Let's call in an expert or two that's, know more about it than you do and make sure that you're really confident and competent to go in that direction going forward, as opposed to, throwing something at the wall and praying that it sticks. And then when it doesn't stick, it creates, this sort of avalanche of other things that you weren't necessarily confident in. So I'd say that's my approach now is, again, leveraging the lessons from those failures, but leveraging them in a way where I can still fail forward and move forward and not make the same mistakes, obviously, but then also grow from the mistakes that I made previously, iterate on the processes that kind of created the failure, and hopefully do it much, much better the next time. And so far, so good. My brand new business at the moment is, yeah, it's a tough one, and we'll tackle that in another, probably in another one of these questions. But it's again all leveraging what I learned prior in previous businesses, both the successes and the failures, in order to create a pathway that feels like it's the right one and one that I'm confident about and one that will see a return on investment, both in energy as well as dollars, as well as commitment, that sort of thing.